Okay, so for my music, I'm a little sick right now, so my voice may sound weird. But for my music appreciation and video summary, what I'm gonna do is be talking about week 11 and 12, which is over the classical period. So with this period, it was broken into 2 weeks with different information, and so it was 2 week modules. In week 11, it started going over the different aspects of the classical period. And the first aspect was within the Enlightenment, which was the social push for order and reason, and was more about the human experience and like the natural beauty and different things like that. And the second aspect was logic, which was basically like parts of the mind which sometimes contrasted with the ideals that were previously formed in the other periods. So with classical music, it stayed within norms. When they expected something to happen, they made it happen. It didn't like do any other type stuff. And during the classical period, the power was passed through like heritage and hereditary rights, which like it went through the hierarchy. Sometimes that happened with other periods also. Some of their idealizations were based and derived from the Greeks and Romans in all sorts of ways, not just with music forms, but also like architecturally and with art. The way that they earned their money during this time was by a system called the patronage system. And what the patronage system was by with the ruling power and the aristocrats, they would hire a composer to play for them anytime they wanted. The composers would be used for social events like parties or like sometimes for even personal reasons. It was just they catered to their every need musically. And they would even live at the court and be fed there. So they would have a steady pay and not have to worry about being homeless or not eating any type of thing like that. But some of the disadvantages of being hired by an aristocrat or living with them is that you have to do what they want musically or in the way of you creating your music. So sometimes the composers would lose their creativity because they would have to cater to their employer's taste. The music that the composers were creating were being performed at the palace or the court where they were at. In week 12, it went over a very known and famous composer, Beethoven. Honestly, Beethoven is probably one of my favorite composers. Like, who doesn't like a little Beethoven in their lives? Nobody. So I think he had a great coming up story to tell, in my opinion, because growing up, Beethoven had provided for and supported his mom and younger brothers at the age of 11, which is a really young age to have to take care of your family, but it sometimes happened. He was a composer who had lost his hearing in the mid 20s, but he had lost it fully somewhere in his 30s. But did that stop him? No, it really didn't, because he was still able to compose his music even with losing hearing. Most of the people would think when you listen to music, you would have to hear it to be able to compose it, but he didn't. Even though he was hired by an aristocrat, he was still able to compose and make the music that he wanted with his own creative touch. He became a romantic and a classical composer because he graciously combined both two different societies together, and he had written 9 symphonies. All of them had, well, not all of them, they had ranged from more traditional classical music to the more innovative and creative works that he had made. And that's probably all, touching on most of the main points that were discussed in those 2 weeks. And I hope that is helpful.